Hello, you're watching Taking a Break with Kazu, and it's time for an album review of the new M83 record, Junk. This is their 7th album, and it's been 5 years since their last release. Hurry up, we're dreaming! M83 is a French synth electro project by the mastermind Anthony Gonzalez, and he's been doing this since the early 2000s. M83 started off as an ambient electronic project, and around their third album, Before the Dawn Heals Us, that's when they evolved into the M83 that we know of now. They have this very lush, reverby synth shoegaze sound with a bit of 80s influence, but their sound is not one of those revival or comeback 80s sound that's very apparent. It has a more of a modern vibe, kind of like the soundtrack from that movie Drive. You know where the influence comes from, but they're not trying to make the music exactly from that era. Anthony is very influenced by the 80s bands like Tears for Fears, New Order, Psychedelic Furs, but he's also influenced by the shoegaze sound of My Bloody Valentine and Cocteau Twins. So when he mixes music, he fuses his influence of shoegaze sound not by guitar, but mostly by his clever use of synthesizers. Heavy, reverby synth adds intensity and depth to their sound. Have you guys ever listened to tracks like Teen Angst or Kim and Jesse? Such bangers, man. With his signature M83 sound, Anthony continued his success with albums like Saturday Equals Youth and Hurry Up We're Dreaming, which was his most successful album to date. Midnight City was a big hit and it got heavy airplay, and this album even got nominated for a Grammy. After that, Anthony got the opportunity to score a soundtrack for the movie Oblivion, and a few years later he released this new album, Junk. The band is doing so well, and I really enjoyed their last couple albums, so when this project dropped, I was really excited, and so I gave it a listen, and I didn't like it. First thing you need to understand is that they lost their shoegaze element, and the focus of the sound went more on the 80s sound. The blast from the past, the comeback, you can hear it all over this album. When Anthony worked on this album, he said he was inspired by 70s and 80s TV show like Punky Brewster and Who's the Boss. He said TV shows nowadays sound and start to look the same, and there's no more passion, so this album is the tribute to those old-fashioned shows. I listened to the soundtrack of those shows just to get a glimpse of what he's talking about, and you know what? He did a good job in recreating those sounds. But unfortunately, this sound didn't click with me. It's nice that he decided on doing something different with this album, but it just feels weird. I've always loved M83's sound for this cool night drive music, but on here it sounds more silly and kind of corny. However, the production of this album is really well done, and there were a few spotlight tracks. One of them will definitely be the song Go, featuring French singer Mai Lan. Anthony did not sing on this track, it was Mai Lan doing all the vocals. Her contribution was great, and the song turns out to be really catchy. This song also features guitar god Steve Vai. He's uncredited, just to let you know. And the song fades out with a powerful guitar solo. There's a point in the song where they do a countdown that's a little cheesy, but it's tolerable. Lyrically, the song is about rescuing what matters most to you because you realize that all the physical things in life aren't worth it and will fade with time. Third track, Walkway Blues, featuring Jordan Lawlor, was another song I enjoyed on this album. If you didn't know, M83 did an audition back in 2011 to look for a new member, and Jordan won, and now he's the permanent member of the band. This is his debut songwriting for an M83 album. I enjoy the smooth and funky composition of the song, and Jordan's vocal is mixed well with the atmosphere. Lyrically, the song is about how everything in life just seems copy and pasted and thrown away like junk. Those two are my favorite, and the rest of the album wasn't interesting to me. There are 15 tracks in total, and in there are 4 instrumental tracks. The instrumental track sounds like music that plays while you're on hold for customer service. Slower songs like Solitude and Sunday Night 1987 felt like it was running for a long time. I don't hate these songs, but I tend to tune out and end up skipping them. The sound they're trying to recreate is not necessarily the problem, but the problem is that I'm already familiar with it, and if I want to hear something like this, I'll go listen to something like Orchestral Maneuver in the Dark. The first single on this album, Do It, Try It, I thought was okay. The sharp, jumpy piano melody and the synth sound they used in the track reminds me a little bit of Ghostbusters. The main issue comes down to the fact that I'm already attracted to M83's signature sound. Anthony can compose something more dark and intense, but this album is too happy and light. Also, there's way too many slow songs on this album, and including the fillers too. Maybe out in 70s and 80s theme prom, this would be an ideal album to put on. Also, this album cover is ugly. It's kind of like a McDonald ad from the future or something. Most likely this was all intentional, and it's nice to know that Anthony's capable of recreating this vintage sound, but on their next project, I'm hoping to hear more of who they are and to keep expanding what they represent. I truly enjoy M83's discography, so I'm not going to give up on them. Sadly, this one became my least favorite from their release. Highlights from this album were these two tracks, linked down below. So what did you think of this album? Did you enjoy their new sound? Let me know. Also recommend me more albums to review. That way I can take more break. And I like break. Like, comment, and subscribe.